Let's get to this Epstein suicide note, alleged suicide note, which was released by the court. Let's go ahead and put D1 up on the screen. This is from the New York Times. Okay, so here's the note on the right. You can see the handwriting there. And I'm going to give you like the punctuation and stuff as well, just because I think it's significant in terms of analyzing whether or not this is a real product. They investigated me for months, found nothing, all caps. The note begins, adding that the result was charges going back many years. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do, dash, dash, M dash there. Bust out crying? The note reads, no fun, all caps. Not worth it, all caps. So the backstory here is that this note was, according to Epstein's former cellmate, who was a former cop who killed 4 people, was convicted of killing 4 people. He maintains his innocence. In any case, he was put, for some reason, in the same cell with Jeffrey Epstein. Seems kind of crazy to start with. In any case, that's what happened. And he says that he found this note tucked into a graphic novel that was Jeffrey Epstein's. It was written on like yellow paper, he said, and he opened the book to read and he found it there. It has been sort of caught up in court proceedings of, what's this guy's name, Tartaglione?
Yeah. Yes.
It's been caught up in his court proceedings and was sealed because of his own proceedings. There was now this motion to, hey, let's release this thing because it's a subject of public interest, and so it was released. Tartaglione and his lawyers claim that they verified that this is truly from Jeffrey Epstein, but we don't know how. We've been given no evidence of that. So that's what we
He told the Times that he found the note in a graphic novel. I would actually love to know which graphic novel. After Mr. Epstein was taken out of the cell after the apparent suicide attempt. I opened the book to read it, and there it was. It was written on a piece of yellow paper ripped from a legal pad. The medical examiner, remember, then ruled his death a suicide. Also, this was not the actual alleged suicide. This was an attempted suicide that they claim happened. And Tartaglione is, I think he's the former cop. Yeah, he's the former cop who was awaiting trial at the time for quadruple homicide.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. I will do the most boneheaded thing of all time. I asked AI, Claude, does this fit with Epstein's writing style?
Okay, all right.
All right, so with that caveat that this is the lowest tier commentary you can offer, and I apologize, he said, this is what Claude says. What I can say, the note style, fragmented, dramatic, heavy use of caps and exclamation points, is unusual for a suicide note. It reads more like someone venting frustration than someone in a final and a reflective state of mind. In terms of Epstein's writing style, what they say is that because it's mostly legal documents and correspondence with associates, not just casual personal prose, it is hard to establish a clear stylistic fingerprint. So there you go, in terms of what Claude thinks of how it fits with the alleged suicide note. I mean, if I'm being honest, it just seems kind of fake. This is my own personal opinion, speculation. Like, it seems fake to me. It just doesn't fit with a lot of his. I've read thousands of his emails between the Epstein files and those hacked emails that Ryan and I had access to. I feel like I'm pretty familiar with his writing style. The M- thing in particular is weird. That said, people write very differently by hand necessarily than they would type. And Claude makes a good point that he's corresponding mostly with his teams of lawyers and other people, not as many of his personal communications that were in there. So I don't know for sure. It does feel like the grandiosity of himself, definitely, but the level of like humor and other things alleged within it, bust out crying. Like, I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not sure I'm buying it now, personally. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, and we also should just say, like, Tartaglione has a bit of an incentive here because, and he even said at some point, like, in case they thought that it was me that did this to him. And so that's also should be taken into account that the person that allegedly found it would have a reason for producing such a note to get any sort of suspicion that he did something here, off the table. So there you go.
Okay.
All right. We also had some interesting developments with regard to Mr. Howard Lutnick. little bit of upset from both Republicans and Democrats. Let's actually put D5 up on the screen first. So Lutnick testified behind closed doors about his relationship with Epstein, what he knew, blah, blah, blah. And so this is kind of fascinating. James Comer, who was a Republican, actually admitted that Lutnick had not been 100% truthful about being on Epstein's island ahead of this interview with the oversight panel on Wednesday. So this was for a closed door transcribed interview as part of the oversight panel's investigation into Epstein. After the fact, a number of the Democrats who were part of that interview were extremely frustrated and disgusted with Lutnick and, said outright that they thought he was lying during that interview that they had with him. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what Ro Khanna had to say. This is D2.
Well, now we know why that interview was not videotaped. If Donald Trump had seen the video transcript, he would have fired Howard Lutnick. It was really embarrassing. He was asked very straightforward questions about whether he regretted misleading the American people. I mean, he said that he would never see Epstein again in 2005. And everyone knows that he took his wife and kids to see Epstein in 2012. And yet it was just contortions and lies and no acknowledgement that he misled the American public. And then he's raised even more serious concerns about the investigation. He originally had said that Epstein engaged in blackmail and recorded videotapes. Now he's saying, well, he was wrong. He was just speculating, and Epstein actually didn't engage in blackmailing. This raises the question of what the cover-up is. Did someone tell him to say that? I've not heard that that Epstein never engaged in blackmail. Why is Howard Lutnick changing his testimony, changing his story? He's lost all credibility, and really it's a shame that the American people don't get to see what he did there.
And you'll recall, of course, Lutnick famously gave that interview where he told this elaborate story about my wife and I, from the very first moment that we met Jeffrey Epstein, we were disgusted and we said we would never have anything to do with him. And then lo and behold, the emails come out and they had gone to the island and maintained a relationship, etc. So Ro was pointing out that he still is trying to avoid grappling with the fact that he just, clearly outright lied in that original telling of his disgust and how they vowed they would never have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. James Walkinshaw also had some pretty strong comments after the fact. This is the congressman who represents Fairfax County, replaced Jerry Connolly after Jerry Connolly died. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
I hope today that we would have heard some remorse, some contrition from Secretary Lutnick for flat out lying to the American people. Instead, what we've heard thus far is hours of testimony where he's attempting to redefine the meaning of the word I. He claims that when he said, I would never be in a room again with Jeffrey Epstein, he meant only him and Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein was so gross to him, so disgusting, that he wasn't willing to be in a room with him, but he was perfectly okay with his wife and family being in a room with Epstein. He's lying. And today's transcribed interview is part of the ongoing cover-up, because the American people deserve to see the video of what's taking place in there. They deserve to see the sweat on the secretary's brow as he struggles to answer basic questions about his lies to the American people.
So anyway, Sagar, they were apparently none too impressed with what Mr. Lutnick had to say behind closed doors.
Shocking. Yeah, really shocking, right? In terms of Lutnick. No, I mean, Comer even said it straight up. He's like, yeah, he didn't tell the truth.
Well, he wasn't.
He was not
100%
truthful.
What percent truthful
right,
was he,
yeah.
Jamie Comer?
That's like, remember when Andrew Schultz interviewed Trump and Trump was like, I'm mostly truthful? Andrew was like, what do you mean mostly? Anyway, all right, what do we have standing by? Glenn Greenwald?
Yep.
Let's get